What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Before I get started, I just want to let everybody know I normally do all the Knicks games. I'm going to post it on Twitter as well. I got plans tonight. Not going to be able to call the game, but I'll be right back at it for the next New York Knicks game. I may, however, if you guys would like, go live today. I know those midday streams have been really popular, and the New York Giants today are meeting with Adoree Jackson. We'll see how it all plays out, and maybe you guys want to recap everything that happened with Kenny Golladay, maybe ask some questions about that. So, if you guys would like, we'll jump into that. In this video, though, I am going to go over the contract specifics of Kenny Golladay. And before I get started, I want to reiterate, because I had one or two people tell me that they didn't like my reaction, and I should have been more excited. I am very excited that the New York Giants got Kenny Golladay. But like in any one of my videos, when there is a big signing, I like to go over the contract. I like to give my opinion. And Kenny Golladay, as excited as I am as a number one wide receiver, we all know that there are concerns due to injury. So think of it as an insurance policy. In a game of football, a very violent sport, a game with a lot of injuries, you want to be able to at least leave yourself the freedom, if things go south, to be able to get out after a contract. We all know what it's like to be in salary cap hell with the contracts that we signed back in 2016. So that is all I'm doing in this video, and that is all I was talking about in that video. I'm a big fan of the Golladay signing. I think we desperately needed a number one wide receiver, and I'll tell you what, after seeing the way that the contract was constructed, I thought the New York Giants, Kevin Abrams and Dave Gettleman, did a fantastic job of giving the Giants the freedom, if things go south, to not take that bad of a cap hit and be able to get out of this contract after certainly after 3 years. And they had an avoidable year at the end of it if he does play the conclusion of the 5-year deal. But I'll explain all of it in this video. And of course, like I said, we're going to jump into the news about Adoree Jackson. And we're going to start there before we jump into the quotes. If the Giants were able to add Adoree Jackson to this football team, and when you see the money that they're paying the players that they signed in free agency, they will have some wiggle room in order to do it. If they are able to bring in Adoree Jackson on a 1, a 2, maybe even a 3-year contract, whatever it may be, that would be huge for the New York Giants. Now, one thing you got to worry about him, no doubt about it, is the injury. But the guy, when he plays throughout his career, he's still young, former first-round pick, has been very good. And if he was your cornerback number 2 opposite James Bradbury and he was healthy, the New York Giants would have one of the most dynamic secondaries in the NFL. And I've said it numerous times. I think what the most important unit for this defense is the secondary. There's no denying it. The cornerback position specifically. In a defense like this, where you want to be blitz happy, which is what I think Patrick Graham wants to be. I think he wants to be more aggressive. You need strong corner play to be able to leave those guys out on an island. And if you had Jackson and you had Bradbury, I would expect the New York Giants defense this year to be much more aggressive. It also would give you the freedom to attack other areas in the first and second round of the draft. If they were not to address this cornerback position, which at this point I think it is fairly obvious, the Giants don't feel extremely confident with Julian Love. They don't feel extremely confident with Isaac Yiadom. It's why they traded for Yiadom in the first place. They didn't feel confident starting Love there. I know he played pretty well against the Cowboys, but in my opinion, I do think they need to strengthen up that exterior cornerback spot. And it would be great to be able to do it in free agency so you could attack the offensive line, maybe add another weapon. You could try to get an edge rusher in one of the first 2 or 3 rounds. It would give the Giants a lot more options in this year's draft. And if you got Jackson, it would really help out this year's defense. But the first thing I want to do was jump into the contract about the newly acquired Kenny Golladay. I said I wanted to jump into that today now that the figures have come out. And he's going to be 28 at the top of at the start of this contract. If he sees the conclusion of it, he will be 31. And if you see on the bottom line, that is a voidable year. You've seen a lot of teams do that in this year's free agency to try to stretch out the cap to be able to fit under this year's budget. And when you look at this contract, it is not bad. They did as good of a job as you could have possibly asked for. And there are some incentives that could bump it up to $76 million if he hits, I think it's over 1,200 yards. Like there were certain things in the contract that he could get an additional $4 million throughout the contract. But we're going to say it's 4 years, $72 million, and we're going to see how they stretch this out. The first year, if you look right here, this column right here, at the top in 2021, he's only going $4.625 million against the cap. Okay, and he signed a big signing bonus, and they stretched that out over the remaining years. And then the following 3 years, he's making $21.15, which really, in next year's market, is probably about what he's worth if he goes out there and has a really strong year. But the thing that's really good about this contract, if things go south, again, it's like an insurance policy. The New York Giants leave themselves the ability, when the cap in 2023 is going to be much higher, okay? You're talking about a cap that's probably going to be in the 225, 230 range, maybe even more with the TV money coming in. They leave themselves the freedom if he regresses in play, if he does get hurt, which we all hope doesn't happen. And I'm not saying or think that it will happen. it would only be a $10.2 million dead cap hit on the column all the way to the right. 10.2 in that third year. So you would save $10 million on the cap essentially, or $11 million on the cap essentially, and you'd be able to get out of it after just 2 years. And then in the fourth year, they would absolutely have the freedom when it's only a $6.8 million dead cap hit on a $21.4 million salary. That would save you about $15 million if you were able to get out of it. So really, it's only a 3-year commitment, and it could be a 2-year commitment if things go south. So I think the Giants did a great job in constructing this salary. Now, I hope Golladay sees the full 4 years. You always hope that when you sign a player. I think he probably will. Daniel Jones definitely needs that weapon, but it gives you the freedom to get out of it and sign other players if he's not living up to that contract. So I think the Giants did a great job here constructing this contract for Kenny Golladay, and they really constructed it as good as they possibly could have, and it gave themselves the freedom to now go out there and attack a guy like Adoree Jackson. And to go over all the contracts just for 2021, what their cap hits are going to be. Kyle Rudolph is actually the highest hit of anybody that they brought in. Of course, it's only a 2-year contract. That's why you couldn't stretch out the money as much as you could with a 3 or 4 year contract. 4.75 against the cap. Kenny Golladay, 4.5. Austin Johnson, 3. Devontae Booker will be 2.5. You could argue a slight overpay. But then I could tell you, look at Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon's under $1 million. So if you want to say we overpaid by $1 million there, we underpaid by $1 million with Glennon. It offsets it. Reggie Ragland, the same thing, under $1 million. And John Ross will only be $1.8 million against the cap. So if you want to say you overpaid by $1 million with Booker, I could say you probably underpaid by $1 million with those bottom 3 guys. Regardless, I think the Giants did a fantastic job maneuvering this cap this offseason to be able to bring as much as they could to help this football team. You also tack on Logan Ryan. That counts. You know, for everybody that forgets about that, that counts. He was a free agent this year. We brought back Logan Ryan. We also brought back Leonard Williams, which I thought was imperative. They needed to do that. And on top of that, you add Kyle Rudolph is going to be huge for this offense, in my opinion. He fits the scheme very well. Very good blocker. He's going to help in the red zone. And I think he fills that Jason Witten-like role in the Jason Garrett offense. Not to say he's going to catch for 1,000 yards, but I think he'll be valuable for this team. Kenny Golladay, of course, the big fish. We definitely need a number 1 wide receiver. I think Austin Jackson is more than likely going to get starters reps for this defensive line. Him and B.J. Hill will alternate, but he's definitely going to get a lot of time. Devontae Booker, I think, is a more than suitable backup running back, something that you really need, being that Saquon Barkley's coming back from this injury. John Ross is a guy that could have a huge, he's low risk, high reward. Mike Glennon, an upgrade at the backup quarterback position. Reggie Ragland, I think, could very well start against certain teams, depending, on the opponents they're going up against at that middle linebacker spot, and you got him for nothing. That does not even include, I think he missed on the edge rusher that we brought in from Minnesota. And maybe the details haven't come out on that, but that was only a 1-year deal that will be a situational pass rusher for the New York Giants. So we filled in a ton of holes to set ourselves up for the draft. I will have my final grade on free agency when it's complete, because right now I think the Giants are in on Adoree Jackson. We're going to see how it plays out. This, according to Peter Schrager, I think is on Good Morning Football, if I'm not mistaken. He says one of the most important people in the Giants' entire organization this week, Jabril Peppers, played a big role in the recruitment of Kenny Golladay, including a dinner together in Hoboken. Now he's chatting with free agent cornerback Adoree Jackson, making a case for Big Blue, a closer. On top of that, of course, you have the obvious connections to Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan said very good things about him, and he has come out and said that he feels Logan Ryan is kind of like a mentor. So I think the Giants are very much in play for Adoree Jackson. Then this coming out from the Giants Insider newspaper and podcast, and he is known to have a very good reputation on Twitter of having inside resources from within the New York Giants organization. He said this: the Giants are liking their chances with Adoree Jackson. Don't get too excited yet, but not looking bad. Patience. And that is a word that I have stressed this entire free agency period. I had Giants fans jumping off a cliff when the free agency period started. It looks a lot brighter now. Good things come to those that wait, especially in a market like this when it is flooded with talent. And then finally, I wanted to pull up just this, and actually Nick, one of my best subscribers, showed this to me on Twitter, and I thought it was a great stat that I wanted to share with you guys. Like I said, you worry about the injuries with Adoree Jackson. But, and again, PFF's just a tool. It's not the whole tool bag. But by their grading system, since 2018, Adoree Jackson ranks 4th in coverage grade on the outside, behind such names as Gilmore, Sherman, and Alexander. That's pretty damn good company. So I wanted to point that out with you guys as well, and he would be a great addition to this New York Giants football team in that secondary, and I hope we get him, because it gives you a lot more freedom in the first round of the draft. And I've been on record of saying now, really since like week 12, that we desperately need that second exterior cornerback. It changes this entire defense dramatically. If you have two really good corners with the safeties that we have, you're going to be able to be so much more aggressive and send so many different blitzes throughout the game, being able to trust both James Bradberry and a guy like Jackson if we were to bring him in. I hope that Joe Judge gets it done, because this defense under Patrick Graham, if you add some talent to it, is going to get very creative. And don't forget, we still got a whole draft and maybe some more free agents down the road. You know, like I said, these guys may sign for $1 million, $2 million. Guys that you thought maybe going for 4 or 5 earlier in the process as they're still looking for jobs. I think a lot of players are attracted to the New York Giants right now. They like the culture that they're building. They see Joe Judge and they see that this team is on the rise. And after getting Kenny Golladay, make no mistake about it, I expect the New York Giants to be right in the thick of it in the NFC East. But I can't wait to see how they fill out the rest of this roster. As always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.